Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon for the latest film interviews, features, and recommendations on the movies that matter. Rana Daggubati, so good to see you, Rana. How are you holding up? How are you doing in these times of lockdown?
Well, good to see you too, Rajeev. It's nice to see know people after a while.
Correct.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's like a really new experience, in terms of quarantining yourself at home.
Right.
And especially for actors who are out all the time, or my life is completely out that way. And but I think I'm now used to it. I kind of understand. There's a lot of benefit in it if you see it and work towards it. I think I'm just trying to channelize myself every day slightly better than what I do before.
Correct. Rana, you had a film that was slated for release on the 20th of April. You had Haathi Mere Saathi,
Yeah,
which is a big one.
Watching the film right now and talking.
Right. It was a we would have, yeah, that's right. We would have, correct. It's a multilingual. It's meant to be a film that's going to be in many languages. Of course, as is the case with other films that were meant to be released, the release is all up in the air. But Rana, I feel like, you as someone who's worked in the film business even before you became an actor. I mean, you produced films. Your family has a 55-year-old film production studio. Y'all have about 300 screens that the family owns and runs. How do you look at how big a setback this is for the film business, and what is the roadmap going to be ahead? I understand that there's a lot of uncertainty, but I'm guessing some conversations are being had.
Yes, I mean, every day, has been conversations with either theatre owners who are probably the most affected in all of this.
Correct.
Because that's kind of gone to zero.
Yeah.
And the virus is such that unless you have a permanent cure, right? If there is definitely a vaccine, then things will all come back to normal. People will all come back to the cinemas. But is that going to happen soon, or 10 months, 12 months, 18 months? We really don't know.
Right.
And one really can't understand of what the phased manner means, right?
That's right.
For cinemas, especially. I mean, that breaks the whole experience of the cinema itself.
Correct.
So you don't know what the lockdown lifts will actually do to it. But on the other hand, I think there will be a rise of a lot of other things like the OTT, like short content, like animated content. There's so much. When you're all put at home in one place, there's so much creativity that kind of is born.
Correct.
I know many writers just writing a lot of things, a lot of actors reading a lot of things. I think you just have to be positive here right now. It's the setback not for us but for the world itself, right?
True.
Everyone's. It's not. I mean, so I just spoke to a friend of mine today after maybe about 40 minutes of arguing what's going to happen.
Right.
Then we realized whether it's Donald Trump or the Prime Minister of India or you or me, we know pretty much the same amount right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to make that call to see where things go.
Correct. I've been speaking to producers and actors in India, in Mumbai, in Bollywood, and they're talking about, they're putting sort of tentative dates in terms of when cinemas will likely reopen. Of course,
Right.
Everyone's being very optimistic. PVR has said they'd like to do this social distancing kind of format, which, like you rightly said, it seems a bit odd that you'd do that.
Yeah.
I mean, the theater will operate at 1/6 capacity. It doesn't seem kind of, like you said.
I mean, you don't know what that means, right?
Right. But what is it looking like? I mean, what are y'all plan? I mean, as a family that runs 300 screens, what are y'all? How far ahead are y'all planning for? What is it looking like?
See, we've kind of phased this manner into 2-3 things. One, the business has gone to zero right now, so there's nothing really
Correct.
in the business. And this is not a high margin profit business that is around either. It just holds on at a very thin line.
Right.
And that thin line is usually summer and Christmas and things like that.
Seasonal.
Now
yes.
with those seasonal, right? And those getting affected will change everything for us. So right now, I think it's the most important thing is our employees and the people who work with us.
Yeah.
The idea of just holding all of them together and making sure that they're safe, we're safe, all of us are just safe. First, I think that's step one.
Right.
Step two is we're taking extreme sanitization measures in terms of understanding what sanitary requirements are. We've been talking to a lot of doctors, since also the staff is at home right now.
Yeah.
It's work from home, so that's been the only fundamental of saying how can we get people cleanly into a theater and get them back out without really breaking the experience of the cinema.
Right.
So whether it's temperature checks, whether it's thermal scanners, and you don't know what the business can really afford, right?
True.
So you'd probably be able to do it in a theater in Hyderabad, but if it goes off to a smaller district,
Right.
then you don't know if a thermal scanner is affordable there, right?
Correct.
You need to figure out manual ways. So I think that's what we're doing right now in terms of breaking it
Right.
on the theater side. And we know whenever it kind of wakes up, the first will be smaller shootings, which are more controlled,
Yeah.
whether it's a chat show or stuff for OTT and things like that.
Right.
So we're just making disciplines right now. I mean, the first job I actually had was with Kodak Image Care.
Uh-huh.
So my dad got me into the lab with a big book which had image care on it to clean the lab up a certain way. That was actually my first job.
Wow.
So it's like I just actually got that manual back and said, let's just apply this to all now.
Correct.
So that's the real work we've been up to.
Right.
All the
Rana,
time.
in America, I mean, the death knell of the cinemas had already, they were already talking about
Correct.
that happening, and this blow, a lot of them are saying that this could be the final blow in a sense. I mean, a lot of movement already to OTT.
Correct.
Of course, tent poles will the cinemas are meant for the tent poles, but in an environment where Disney Plus is already talking about moving a lot of their, Disney is talking about moving a lot of their films to their service.
Right.
Is that going to reflect here as well? I mean, is it going to be hard for the sort of cinemas to bounce back in a sense?
See, one is there's a slight difference between the consumer here and there,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's in the retail sector itself, not only
Right.
cinema, is we still like community a lot more. Like our malls do well, our plexes do well, and the distance to the theaters is not very, very far with
Correct.
the way our cities are located.
Correct.
Like if you have to go for cinema in LA, you just have to go really out of town
Correct.
and then find the big plex with 24 screens.
Right.
But that's distance. There's a lot of distance there.
Yeah.
And the star system kind of went away, so there's no real people taking openings there, or you're not waiting for a handful of filmmakers. You're waiting for only 10 pole, right?
Right.
But India is still not that. I mean, I still wait for a Salman Khan film. I'll wait for a Rajinikanth film.
Correct.
It's still there in our DNA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's not going to be the same effect here. And when you see, like, I mean, not to, in all due respect, but I'm saying general first world problems. Right? I
Yeah.
mean, they ran out of toilet paper first,
Correct.
right?
Right.
So, the fear is much higher than what it is.
Right.
We still will figure this out and we'll kind of step out. So I think culturally, I think we'll still be better off than the rest of the world,
Right.
is what I think.
Right.
But I think it's also really hoping for the positive thing to happen. Yeah. Just
Correct.
hoping scientists find this great vaccine and all of us get it and it's distributed beautifully across India.
Right.
And that's really the hope.
The hope, right? Rana, speaking about your own career, this is, 2020 is an interesting year. It's an important year. It's 10 years in the movies, isn't it, for you? I mean, didn't you start,
Yes.
wasn't Leader released in 2010?
Yeah.
And then, of course,
So-
Dam Maro Dam in Mumbai, in
Damarodam
Bollywood.
in 2011. Yeah.
Correct.
So yeah, this is technically my second debut. So it's my second 10 years. I actually did 10 years last year.
Last year,
for Leader.
correct.
Yeah.
Do you have sort of memories about starting out? Because you didn't grow up planning to be an actor, right? I mean, it
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
it happened along the way, after multiple
Correct.
jobs, actually.
After multiple jobs, yes. Well, I mean, I'm just happy that I survived 10 years. When you quit doing visual effects and stuff and you're doing gaming, you just didn't know that it'll really be that you can make it. See, how I started off was I just had stories that I had which others really weren't interested in. That's what brought me to this.
Correct.
And I think why this is very important right now, this year rather, is it's really been 10 years in Bombay, right? That's been the place that showed me lots of different things.
Uh-huh.
See, I grew up here, I understand the ecosystem, I understand how storytelling is done here.
Right.
But Bombay kind of opened me up to so much different, right? I mean, first I did a film called Dam Maro Dam, which I could
Correct.
never do in Telugu. Obviously, it's Goa, drugs,
Correct.
and crime.
Right.
And first there's cinematic language that's different, filmmakers that are different. And I think I just started seeing India as one big country and like a much bigger opportunity than what one had.
Correct.
So I think Bombay was very, very important. And being in Bombay was extreme. And with Dam Maro Dam was important for me.
And yet, it's not like you worked, prolifically in Bollywood. I mean,
No, not really. I just here and there.
yeah, it's actually been quite sporadic.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean. I started off hoping, right, when I did Leader and then Dhamma Rudam, I thought that's how career will pan.
Right.
You do one here, you do one there. But that math doesn't really apply when you actually get to making a film.
Correct.
And every time I did something there, it used to be like 1.5 years, and I was like, nobody knew what I was up to here.
Right.
And the same happened here. And if the films are successful, it doesn't matter. But if the films fail, right? So I'll tell you a fun year of mine. I did a film called Department with Ramu.
Correct.
And I did another Telugu film called Naishtam. Both were terrible films. Both didn't do well.
Okay.
And then you don't know where you are, right? I mean, you don't get work here or there.
Right.
So you're like, okay, let's just figure out pace and start again.
Right.
So I mean, that's how it really worked. But I think finally where I found myself was finding stories that could travel.
Yeah.
Whether it was Ghazi, Baahubali, and
Correct.
now everything else that I'm doing, Haathi and all of the others.
Right.
I think that was where I wanted to land up.
Do you see that as being the way ahead for all of our cinema? Because it really feels like in the last few years, certainly you've sought out those kind of projects that
Right.
can be pan-India films. The ones
Right.
that you mentioned, Ghazi, Baahubali, also Haathi Mere Saathi now. But do you see that as being the way ahead for a lot of people, for a lot of filmmakers and actors, maybe?
See, one is the story will still define which language it's made in.
Right.
I think the nature of the film will kind of tell it, but
Correct.
definitely, I mean, one has to see it much bigger. I mean, today, post Baahubali and Ghazi, I mean, all of us see it like that.
Yeah.
If it's a story that can travel, it's actually made for being an Indian film.
Right.
I think that Baahubali kind of brought that amongst
Correct.
all of us. It kind of united the country, and when it unites the country, it actually becomes 5-6 industries in one place, which is
True.
huge, right?
Yeah.
As a market itself.
Yeah.
And we saw that with Baahubali too, when one film opens as a big film in each language,
Right.
and then it just changes everything for us.
Correct.
So I think that will really be what big spectacle cinema will be. I think
Right.
films from there will start crossing over, and what people here will start watching it, and vice versa is already happening.
Correct. I mean, how do you look back at Baahubali, Rana? That's really the film that did what no other Indian film had done in terms of putting
Completely.
sort of India on the map. Breaking the state barriers in a sense, or language barriers, and really
Correct.
becoming this pan India film. But I mean, I look at you and I feel like. And I'm sure you encounter that. Do people, when they look at you, kind of expect to see Bhalal Dev and then sort of see the guy who's coming off Haathi Mere Saathi, where he's meant to play this man who's lived in a forest for like 20 years?
But I think, see, that's the fun part about playing these characters, because they're so unique to themselves.
Yeah.
They're almost like action figures or things you pick up from a comic book, right?
True.
Whether it's Ballal Deva, whether it's Bandev from Haathi, it's all. I'm able to get these roles because that's the only things that travel. They don't have time, place. It doesn't matter if the jungle is in Bombay or Chennai or wherever it is, right? I think that's it's a lovely place to have that. I mean,
Yeah.
so these are not characters from real life, but you're actually creating them out of myth or mythology or stories that you want.
Right.
So I really enjoy that. Yeah.
So what was Haathi Mere Saathi like? I mean, I look at the trailer and it kind of brings out the child in you, because you want to watch this story about animals set in the forest. It's kind of those adventure movies that we saw growing up.
See, listening to that story was first very special, because you just get. I mean, there's very little that you connect with that you can't connect with nature, right?
Correct.
Everybody likes. I mean, there are more people that like nature than they like cinema itself, right? That's how big nature is, and the real effect happened because of Prabhu Solomon, the director. I mean, he understands the jungle very well. He understands. If you've seen his earlier films, Kumki and stuff like that, he's been in jungles before.
Yeah.
And just to be for about 30-40 days without no other co-actor with me, just 15 elephants and me in one jungle deep inside.
Right.
Was itself, just understanding that was totally different, right? You're removed from anything that's worldly. There was no cell phone signal for about 20 days.
Wow.
So we were just in a forest guest house. The whole group just land up in the jungle, and that's about it.
Right.
So that, I mean, it just gets you to understand.
And are you an adventure junkie yourself? I mean, do you like doing? Do you like being in nature and being in the jungles, and I mean, spending time with elephants as I get more elephants than humans?
Well, I used to like trekking and all of that before I became an actor. See, once I became an actor, then this became job, right? Jumping around things became. I said no. This no more physical activity becomes adventure or fun anymore. But yeah, I'm a sucker for adventure. I like adventure. I like the jungles, and nature itself is just so beautiful, and
Yeah.
just to be so close in proximity with 15 elephants and behaving with them, being with them, and working with them is it just changes you as a human being in some ways more than one.
Rana, what have you been watching? You know, this is a question I'm asking every actor. What are you watching these days for entertainment to kind of keep your sanity intact? What are you doing to keep yourself busy and engaged?
One is I've started watching a lot of animation stuff again after a
Nice.
long time.
Uh-huh.
I think in a regular way that kind of went away from my system because I used to watch it a lot,
Right.
and now it started off with this anthology, Love, Death and Robots.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen it on Netflix?
I've heard of it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So it started from there, and then I just started going one after the other and watching animated shorts.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's you don't see it that often, right? And then
True.
there's something basic and nice about animation,
Yes.
which keeps you grounded. So I think that's been my go-to thing this time.
Lovely. Thank you, Rana. All the best.
Thank you, Rajeev.
Stay healthy,
Thank you.
stay
Thank you so
safe,
much.
stay indoors. Looking
Same-
forward to
same to you.
looking forward
Such a
to
pleasure.
Haathi Mere Saathi. Really want to. I'm very excited about that. Can't wait to see that. And next time we meet will be hopefully in person. We'll chat face to
Yes.
face.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rajeev. Thank you so much.